Welcome to the WORKOLOGY podcast, where we discuss the science and art of the workplace, gain powerful insights, resources, and perspectives on the industries of human resources and recruiting. Join your host, Jessica Miller-Merrill, chief blogger of bloggingforjobs.com, for an in-depth and no-holds-barred look into the future of our most powerful business asset, the employee. And now, welcome your host, Jessica, with this podcast episode of WORKOLOGY.
As part of our ongoing podcast series discussing the 5 generations at work, we're continuing the conversation, this time talking about traditionalists with career expert Kay Stout. 95% of traditionalist workforce, those in the traditionalist workforce, are retired, but that doesn't mean they're not contributing to the workforce in different, interesting, and meaningful ways. Kay is one of the savviest LinkedIn users I know. She's had a variety of careers and career paths. I met her 9 years or so ago through her career coach work. And at present, Kay is the executive director of PAAS in Veneta, Oklahoma, and she's the co-host of the Behind the Mic show. Kay, welcome to the WORKOLOGY podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Is there anything you'd like to add to my short introduction?
No.
The Traditionalist Generation is really from 1922 to 1943, give or take a few years. So talk to me about traditionalists. What do you think they value most when it comes to the workforce, their purpose, and then job opportunities?
People of that age want to be valued, and they especially want to be busy. We live longer, we live healthier, and for many of them, the idea of just sitting at home is simply not an option. The main challenge they have when they go to look for a job is that people will immediately discount them because of their age. I can say also they won't have a chance probably of being hired if they've not stayed reasonably up to date with technology, which in today's world is so easy to use. They do bring strength, they bring deep wisdom, and they can be extremely loyal, but they can be challenging if they haven't tried to at least stay reasonably current with technology.
How do you think, keeping that in mind, how do you think most traditionalists are searching for jobs? Are they using social media and the internet to find volunteer opportunities and work, or going other places, doing different things?
Almost exclusively. They are reaching out to their traditional ways, the people they know, places they've worked, little bits of newspaper, but 90% of the people I know who fit that category are currently in some form of either volunteer or paid work because they've had a conversation with somebody who realized the value they brought to the workforce and were willing to work with them.
So where do you think, if maybe some of our listeners are like, hey, this sounds interesting, I need maybe some volunteers or some full-time or part-time workers that have this deep wisdom and knowledge, where should they go to connecting with them?
I think I can speak most comfortably about smaller markets like the Oklahoma City market, not a huge market like New York City. But one of the easiest ways to do that is to begin conversations with people at local coffee shops that you know. And as you have those conversations and talk with somebody you know, for me, in the Oklahoma City market, I'd call you, I'd call Bo Parrish. I call key people I know. I'd sit down and talk with them, let them know what I'm doing. If they have any ideas, can they give me any advice? If they were me, what would they do? 80 to 90% of the time at almost any level of employment, that's where it starts. But especially it does with a traditionalist, because most of the jobs that they might be interested in and or might be qualified for will never, ever be posted anywhere. I don't think I have seen any job posted where they would have considered somebody that was over 55 or 60. I don't think so.
Usually it's a warm introduction or some sort of handoff like, hey, check out Shirley. She's a good gal. I think she'd be great for your store or for your nonprofit or as a secretary or something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What are some ways that maybe we can reach out to maybe learn from traditionalists? Because there's so much, like you were saying, so much like depth and wealth of knowledge and experience that they have that might not be recorded in a company, I don't know, SOP or in these other places. Where should we be going to engage and network with these folks outside of the coffee shop, which I think is a great idea?
You certainly start with your circle of friends first, and or any organizations you belong to, or even your kids belong to, or your grandkids, because at that age it would be their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. And they could certainly sit down and visit with them and get input from them on people they know that are older than the great-grandchildren, but are in positions of making decisions. The greatest thing anybody can do when you're talking with somebody who is a traditionalist is be patient and let them talk. They have a lot to say, and they don't edit their stories well, but their stories are worth listening to.
Well, let's take a bit of a reset here. This is Jessica Miller-Merrill, and you're listening to the Workology podcast powered by Blogging for Jobs. Today's topic is an ongoing series on the 5 generations at work. Today, we're talking with career expert Kay Stout, and we're talking about traditionalists. So let's talk a little bit, let's kind of shift gears, I guess, and talk a little bit about the difference between passion and work. Can you talk about those and what in terms of like your viewpoint for yourself, and then also maybe the traditionalist networker, job seeker, volunteer might be thinking about?
Absolutely. I'll start first with the traditionalists. They, at this point in their lives, will only work for something that they're passionate or very much involved in or approve of. Because when they were growing up, the idea of combining passion and work into a paying job was not even an option in their vocabulary. People went to work and were grateful for a job. Nobody ever said, does this fulfill you? Are you passionate about it? They would have looked at you and said, I have a job. I'm getting a paycheck. So today, when they go to volunteer, they're only going to volunteer and or work for something that they're passionate about, because it's the passion that gets them up in the morning and gets them going out the door. It is not the paycheck. It's not the atta-girl or the atta-boy. It's the passion for the cause or the program or the process. That's what drives them.
Is that the same that's true for you?
At this point in my life, yes. I learned that I wanted to save something. And mine was personal. I had lost 2 children. So I knew I needed to save something, and so I chose dogs, and cats are the byproduct. But I chose to save dogs, and it has truly become a good marriage of passion and work for me. That doesn't happen for everybody, and I know I'm fortunate, and I'm fortunate to be where I am at this point in my life. But yes, for me right now, I am passionate about what I do, and I love working in this arena. Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about PAAS and maybe kind of what they do and how you're helping cats and dogs and animals?
Sure, absolutely. Peaceful Animal Adoption Shelter, or PAWS, that's what we call it for short, was founded because a member of the Veneta community lost her cat because it was shot, and she was angry, and she wrote a letter to the editor, and like a lot of things, that started the process in 2011. In 2014, when I came on board, we broke ground for the building. We opened in April of 2015. It's rural Oklahoma, poor economic area, and we were immediately overwhelmed with owner surrender and lost and homeless dogs and cats. And I knew we needed to come up with some kind of a solution other than local adoption, which had been the original mission statement. So I reached out to my contacts that I had within the rescue organization. Roger in Denver listened to my story. He connected me with Bob at Denver Dumb Friends League. And as they say, the rest is history. We are now transporting an average of 30 dogs every Friday or Saturday, or Thursday or Friday night to either Colorado or Wyoming. And they are going to shelters in those areas who need our dogs. And we, in an eight-month period, we will have sent a little over 500 dogs.
Wow. I mean, how great. How great.
Yeah. Our mission statement changed from being an adoption facility here to becoming a transport center. In addition, I've also started a training program at the Northeast Oklahoma Correctional Center, where we have our shelter dogs are going out there to be trained by inmates in basic obedience. And that came about because of my own personal experience with Sarge, a dog who went to the Lexington prison as an unadoptable, growly schnauzer, and is now in the Norman Veterans Center as their resident therapy dog. So that passion as well. Those are 2 passions. They work well in rescue, and they especially work well in this area because of the correctional center being here, and then the fact that we can transport our dogs to Colorado. So it's worked out well.
Yeah, animals are able to to find new homes and new families that they can take care of and they can take care of them.
Yes, and social media has absolutely revolutionized how we save animals. We can now, post those pictures. People can look at them in Colorado and Utah and Wyoming, and they'll drive to Denver and to meet the dog that they've fallen in love with, kind of like dating, I guess, but fall in love with online. And everybody's happy. We've saved the dog's life. They've gotten to a safe place in Colorado, and then they've gone on to a good home. So nobody loses in this. It's really been very rewarding.
When you talk about social media, are you just saying that you're posting pictures with like a description on Facebook, or is it something that's more involved than that?
Facebook is the first place we post them, and quite honestly, it's because it's so easy for so many of my volunteers and employees to be able to post on Facebook. It's super simple. We also certainly have a Facebook page, and we now also have a Facebook page in Colorado that's, Pause in Colorado. So we're expanding our presence. And it works beautifully. I don't know that anybody really understood the total impact that a program like Facebook would have for people like us. I'm on a couple of closed groups of rescue people, and I did a rough calculation of the number of dogs that were coming out of Oklahoma and going to other states on a typical weekend, and it was a little over 700.
I'm a member of several animal Facebook groups, like Lost Animals. When the Moore tornado came through, that was one of the things that like my community members here discovered, is I had friends who had sought shelter, and maybe their home was damaged and their dog or cat, was lost. They were scared. So trying to connect those families together, Facebook was such a great place to share that information and connect people to a joint mission or cause.
It is. And I'm not really sure that everybody understands the immense positive impact that's had for those of us in rescue. But I would say in the course of a year, you easily out of Oklahoma, you will save probably 10,000 dogs that we would have struggled to find homes for before the days, literally, of Facebook. Facebook has become the tool for those people who are involved in, there's Wings of Rescue. These are pilots. They donate their time to fly animals from point A to point B. Recently, there were 100 dogs that were flown from Wiley Post in Oklahoma City to Oregon. The other day I looked, and there was 100 going from somewhere in Texas to Minnesota. So it's so easy to do because Facebook is so easy for all of us to use. And honestly, even for a traditionalist, they can figure out Facebook. So that's how easy it is to use.
Awesome. Well, you've been a career coach and an expert for a long time. So what kind of advice can you give maybe for our audience, for themselves? Like, what's one piece of advice?
I'd like to give two pieces of advice. The first one is, Jessica, no matter what, when you go in for an interview, you can be perfectly dressed, you can have impeccable credentials, but at the end of the day, when you walk out, the first question all of the interviewers are going to ask is, did you like her? And people forget that a good handshake, a smile, a well-answered question, a sense of excitement or enthusiasm, a belief in yourself, some self-confidence will go so far for the response of those interviewers to say, yeah, I really liked her. I think she'd work well here. The more you know about the company so that you can ask them questions, makes them feel good. That, to me, is probably the key to landing the job. But even with all of technology today and all of the job search engines, most of the time people still reach out electronically or by email in some form to somebody they know that starts the ball rolling. Certainly the job sites help, but if you see a company you like and you are interested in it, go to LinkedIn, find somebody you know who knows somebody who's in the company, reach out, make the connection so that someone inside the company becomes your internal cheerleader as well.
What's your biggest pet peeve or stereotype when it comes to others talking about traditionalists?
they categorize them as old, frail, opinionated, and bothersome. Some of them are. But if you'll take the time to get to know them, you'll find you'll be richly rewarded with somebody who's smart, experienced, caring, and wants to be valued. They can get knocked down a lot because they do look older, because they are, and some, especially really young people, can sometimes overlook them. But I do know, in just reading stories of young companies that have brought in a traditionalist or somebody that was born in the 1940s to the 1960s, the wealth of information and maturity that they bring to the company has been highly valued. So you need to be willing to look past the wrinkles and the opinionated responses and find out the true value of what that person can bring to your company.
I like that. I've asked everyone so far that we've interviewed what their kind of soapbox moment was in terms of that one stereotype that they just like to publicly address, and they wish, everybody could just throw it away. One of my favorite moments and memories of you is when you came to the Oklahoma State HR conference and you were a member of the blog squad, and you have been blogging since 2007. Longer than me, longer than, most people I think out there. And the thing about you is you continue to blog, like your blog at kstout.net. It transforms, it follows your passions and your interest. What advice do you have for others who are hesitant to try social media blogs or other new technology?
Two things. One of them is I obviously give it a try, because it's richly rewarding, but it is a long haul. It's not a short win. That's A. B, if you use your blog site as a place to spill the beans, express your anger, etc., it will be short-lived, and or you'll spend all your time defending something you've said. I chose, as much as possible, every time I write a blog, now it's about animals, it used to be about careers, but it's always, I hope, informational, and it does not attack unnecessarily any person that would turn around and want to just blast me. Because once you get involved in that, it's all gone. And the other thing, and most important, is once it's out on the internet, it's there forever. It's there forever. So really remember that when you're writing your blog. To me, I would rather read 3 uplifting informational blogs than have to deal with one angry one. I just don't understand what's gained by showing that intense anger on a blog. So I am always for the positive. I even try to say the negative in a positive way. So there you go.
Yeah, but that's also just your personality. I feel like you always are looking at the lighter side of things, like the learning. Kay, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people go to learn more about you and what you do?
There's 3 ways. The first one certainly is to go to our Facebook page, which is Pause, P-A-A-S, Vanita. That's our Facebook page. Our web page is a work in progress, but it is pausevanita.com. Be patient with it. And then you can find me on LinkedIn, and it's Kay Stout.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for giving me a call, Jessica. It's good to connect with you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to you for listening in and joining us on the Workology podcast, where we discuss the science and art of the workplace, HR, and recruitment. Until next time, you can visit Blogging for Jobs to listen to all our previous Workology podcast episodes.
Production services for the Workology podcast with Jessica Miller Merrill, provided by TotalPicture.com.